Hello everyone, this is Jotto, and welcome to a Spellweaver video. Yes, I haven't released one in over a week. Yeah, but I'm done with exams now, so I actually have time to do this. So yes. But anyway, for this video, I'll be covering Kayanu Blue, which has been a very popular deck coming up, and is basically a new version of Tempo Wisdom that splashes green. Which also means that I was going to jump on it immediately. It's a Tempo Wisdom deck. I love playing Tempo Wisdom. But anyway, before we get started on the actual deck tech, I did go 6-0 with a red build recently for a silver ticket qualifier, so I'll put the link to that deck in the description as well for anyone that's actually curious. I'm not going to do a deck tech on it though, because I've covered red aggro so many times. So I'll just put the list in the description below this one for anyone that's actually curious. But anyway, so what is this particular deck? Now, this deck, as I said, is a Tempo Wisdom deck. However, it includes the incredibly powerful hero Kayanu. Now, Kayanu has always been one of those heroes that provides very strange deck building options and very odd playstyles. He also has some very silly interactions. Now, the main stupidity you can get out of Weapon Mastery with this deck, well, is Library Guards being a 3/4 that costs 2 mana, which is just not fair. However, that's not the stupidest thing you can do. The stupidest thing you can do is Runelit Incarnate. Yeah, Runelit Incarnate with a Might Emblem is completely indestructible to damage, for those of you that don't know, because it can't take damage once it runs out of energy, and its base stats become 1/1, which means that it just can't die. It goes down to 0 energy, and it will never take damage again. So yeah, if your opponent is playing something like red, they can't kill it. And it makes it very interesting to play the mirror match, because you can't kill them in the mirror either, and you just have to bounce them over and over again. And it leads to some hilarious situations, I think is the right phrasing there. But anyway, so besides the standard ones, which is LG and Runelit, which are the very hyper efficient ones that you get out of Wisdom, we've also got some slightly unorthodox ones, like the Airship Explorer. Now, Airship Explorer fits in the deck mostly not because you can actually play it with the hero power, but because it allows you to have openings that, well, first of all, it's kind of like a Library Guards, sort of. But it also allows you to have openings where you go 3/4 into 1/5, and your opponent is holding a fireball and can't kill anything. Whereas normally you go like Library Guards, and then they just like attack, and then Burke, kill both of them. So yeah, it gets a bit awkward. So Airship is very nice against the red aggro decks. It does die to Fire Goblin, but that's 3 mana, so generally you're trading 1 for 1 and the same amount of mana, but they're not spending that mana to go face, which is appreciated. So yeah, I do like the Airship Explorer edition. Only a 2 of, though. They're not that insane. Now, besides that, out of green, you get, well, you get the bounce spell suite, but for Kayanu, you get the Elf Commander, which is basically a really bad Library Guards, but 3/4 with 3 speed is still insane off the hero power, so I'll take it. And also an Ambushing Sharpshooter. Now, Ambushing Sharpshooter allows you to actually fight the creature decks early. The problem Kayanu has is that unless you have the Charged Doorway opening, which we'll cover in a little bit, you actually don't do anything for the first couple turns. Now, the Corruption Kayanu deck kind of makes up for this by having Harpy being ludicrously efficient at stabilizing, but the blue build doesn't have that, so it gets awkward. However, you can run Sharpshooter because you don't have Harpy in the deck, so it doesn't kill your own Sharpshooters, and Sharpshooter with Kayanu becomes a sort of delay for a turn 3/2 with Swift. So yeah, you pay 2 mana, and then next turn you get 3/2 with Swift, which is very difficult to deal with, especially considering Noxious Fumes is not instant speed. And if they're holding up Fireball, and you go Sharpshooter, Library Guards, they Fireball the Sharpshooter, but they're still down on tempo. So yeah, it's quite powerful. Not a 4 of, because there are other things you want to be doing over Sharpshooter. Normally, there's only 2 of these in the deck, normally. But I am running a little bit of a lower shrine count, because I'm not running skill shrines, because I actually don't like the skill shrines in this particular archetype. But anyway, so on to the rest of the creatures before we cover the spell suite. So these are the creatures which you're not going to be using with Kayanu. So you got your 1-drop of choice, Charged Doorway. It's what you've got for 1 drops out of blue. So you kind of have to use it. It is very powerful, though. If you get it down on turn 1 and it doesn't die, you probably won. It's very, very strong. Now, you can turn Charged Aurite into 3 things. Shields, 2/2s, or 2 mana things that kill them. So yeah, it gets a bit silly with Ruin Lip because it means you can go turn 2, 3/3. Yeah, a turn 2, 3/3 that gets bigger over time. That's insane. The other thing to note, by the way, is Charged Aurite does work with the hero power, where you put it onto the hero power, and then next turn it comes into play. And if you do that, turn 1, turn 2, going second, yeah. Then on turn 3 it comes down, you transfer energy, and it's like a 5/5, I think. Has 1 base energy, you transfer 3 plus 1, yeah, it's a 5/5. That can't be killed in combat. Like, you're basically winning at that point. But, in my opinion, the strongest opener you can do with Charged Aurite is the Foundry Engineers. One of my favorite cards! I love playing with Foundry Engineers. So, the Foundry Engineers Charged Aurite opening is Aurite turn 1, and then on turn 3, you go Foundry Engineers, transfer 3 energy, make 2 2/2s, and that usually wins you the game. One exception. Burke. Burke destroys both golems for free, and then hits you in the face with his 1 and 2 drop. So, it's still good against Burke, as in better than what you can normally feel, but it's not going to win you the game. And I think, yeah, it's the only matchup where it will not just, like, say, hey, I win, because they have to deal with the stupid Foundry Engineers, and then you start grinding them out with Library Guards. So, yeah, that opening is usually game over. One exception, which is the red deck. And we'll go over matchups a little bit later when we're queuing. But anyway, so as for the early wisdom creatures, we're running the 4 Runelip because it's a 2-drop, which means if I'm going first, well, 2 drops are nice, basically. That's what I have to say on that one. You need the 2 drops. You prefer going second, but you really do need the 2 drops of going first. And out of the 3 drops, 3 Force Mage, 4 Foundry, because the Foundry is more powerful. Now, the Force Mage has been varying from count of 2 to 3, depending on the list, because it's not that insane. It's good. The problem is that it loses a lot of its utility because all of the stuff in the deck has higher HP totals, which means that you're probably going to win the creature matchups. You just will. Tempo Wisdom decks in general are always rather obnoxious in creature matchups, and yet you get might emblems on half of your creatures, which means that yes, you're going to win the creature matchups basically. So the shield loses a lot of versatility there, and it's just a solid creature. It's not that insane. It's also not what you really want to be doing with energy transfer. You want to be putting it into the powerhouse energy cards, but it's still a pretty good creature. You can't really go wrong with a Force Mage. So as for the rest of the creatures, we've got 2 more. Unicorn, yes, this deck can actually play Unicorn, and yes, it's very useful. So basically, why do you need Unicorn in the deck? Well, you need Unicorn in the deck because Counter Blue basically wins through valuing your opponent to death, I think is the correct way of saying that, where you play your 3/4s and you play your indestructible runelets, and then you just kill them over the long term because all of your cards are worth 2 of his, and he's just going to lose. However, this gets foiled by 2 things. Well, 3 things. Not so much the third one. But anyway, it gets foiled by Burning Rage because he keeps drawing removal spells off his removal spells, so he can actually start clearing the board. Restless Tombs can keep up pressure, but if you go Unicorn, yes, they have 2 zombies, but you just kill both of them because all your stuff is 2/3s. So it causes some issues, needless to say. And the third one is Vampirism, which is less common, but when it happens, yeah, it buffs all of his stuff up to what your creatures would be. So it cancels out a lot of the Kayanu boost, and he starts gaining life, which means you may not actually be able to close out the game. However, Unicorn's not the only way of dealing with these, but it is definitely the one you want to be using because it's a 2/2 and only costs 2 mana. So anyway, on to the spells. And yes, I know I've left out a creature. That was deliberate. But anyway, so there are 3 spells in the deck. Basically, you've got 4 Tornado, 4 Landslide. It's a green deck. Yeah. 7 or 8 bounce spells is pretty obvious. Now, it's 10 spells overall, so you don't have to worry about being massively clunky. Tornado is very, very strong. Landslide lets you do some silly things because it lets you just tempo them to death, where whenever you landslide, you're actually trading 1 for 1 because they skip a draw phase, basically. They skip an entire turn of drawing, but you're down a card as well. So it's a 1 for 1 trade, But generally, if they don't have a Shrine in hand, they have to Divine Offering and shuffle away one of the cards. And also, it's 4 mana, you get rid of 2 blockers, and your opponent has probably spent more than 4 mana into that landslide. Like, if you get rid of a Restless Tombs, like, Restless Tombs isn't too bad with landslide because it still leaves a zombie. But you get rid of, like, Restless Tombs and Succubus, yes, they can reuse the Succubus trigger, but they just spent 7 mana, and then they replay it. So they basically spent 11 mana, and you just swung over and over again, so you probably just killed them. So yeah, Landslide is incredibly powerful in that regard. The last spell is the 2 Flash Freeze. It's not as good as the other spells, but it lets you kill some of the big stuff, which is always appreciated, and also helps a little bit with the red matchup, which is a bit sketchy. Yeah, Flame Serpent comes into mind here. Now, the last addition to the deck is a surprising one. It's Haldari Rider. Yes, probably didn't think you'd be seeing this guy around, and I tried him recently. I'm not a massive fan of him, but he's okay. You kind of have to play something to race. I think this is what's been found. Haldari is kind of needed just to have, well, an extra bit of removal when you're losing, and also just to race the red decks. Like, red is a very, very good deck right now, and kind of blue has serious issues against it. So, yeah, you do need to be able to actually race, and that's where the 3 damage comes in. Now, shrine-wise, I run a very, very, very basic shrine count. I run 18 shrines, 10 wisdom, 8 nature. The reason I run 8 nature is because I do not want to start nature, and I don't need it till turn 2 or 3. Now, why am I not running skill shrines? I just don't like the options. Like, if we really look at the shrines here, what do we got? Institute, Thaumic, nah, no 3 levels involved. So those are out. Enchanted Spring, a lot of people run this. I'm not convinced. I mean, I guess it helps against 1 turn heal, but you've got 4 landslide in the deck, so that just doesn't seem necessary. And besides that, it helps you grind your opponent out, which is what the deck is already good at, so it just doesn't seem necessary. It doesn't help where the deck is bad, but it just helps where it's already good, so it seems kind of needless. And also, yes, bouncing library guards is amazing, but you're down a card to get the skill in the first place, which means you need to bounce your library guards twice just to get above 1 card, so it just does not seem worth it. The other one's Elven Sanctuary. Now, this one I'm a little bit more of a fan of, but I don't know, it just seemed like there weren't enough elves in the deck. Maybe it's correct to play 1 or 2 of these. I know that there was a couple tournament lists that were playing 1, maybe 2, but I think that requires a bit more testing. I think it's personal preference, and just test it out and see where it goes. So anyway, let's try and get a ranked game. So, matchup-wise, this deck has been doing very well recently. It seems to be favored in almost every matchup. Now, it's not favored in every matchup. It has a serious weakness. It has 1 weakness, from what I can tell. I actually think the deck is favored in almost every matchup, except 1. Red aggro, which is a very bad weakness to have, because in my opinion, red aggro is the best deck right now. So, kind of blue's in a bit of a strange position, where it's really good against every single deck, apart from the best one. Which is weird. Like, that's a very strange place to be in. It almost reminds me of... I'm trying to think of an example here. It almost reminds me of Mono Order from Lost Patch, almost, where it was very, very good against all the Tier 2 decks, and would just stomp them into the ground, but it could not beat in the end to save its life. But in that case, it was a little bit closer, which it kind of needed to be considering the Elf Winter. But yeah, Kainu does have that major weakness, and I was actually on the other side of this matchup yesterday, where all the people that had 4 points on round 4, I think everyone, were either playing. I mean, I was playing red, and everyone else was playing Kainu blue. I think there was only 4 Kainu blue players in the entire tournament, and they all went 5, or I think they all went 5-1. I think maybe 1 went 4-2, and the rest went 5-1. The deck did incredibly well. And a lot of people have been playing this on ladder a lot and doing very, very well with the deck. But they just cruised through most people, and when I played against the 2 Kainu blue players, even them going second, like, I think them going second was actually worse. Because, yes, Kaunu's incredible going second, but the red deck is better going first than Kaunu's going second. So it just turned into 1-drop, 2-drop, and then he hero powered, and then I just went 3-drop, attack, 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 and just burned him out with Dragonfires. And that was both games. That was just both games, and it just wasn't close. So yeah. I actually like this hand. I've got a 1-drop opener into an airship, or maybe a runelet. I actually quite like the runelet here. As instant resignation. Okay. Alright. Let's see if we can actually get through this game. Now, I do have the library guards, but I'm going first, so I'm not that big of a fan of this hand. I think I can do better. I do have a tornado outbreak. Nah, let's see if we can do better. This is about equivalent, to be honest. I'm down on library guards, but I've still got the foundry engineers and such. So I think what I'll just do here is set up tornado outbreak and then just go for a hero power. That's unfortunate. Oh, it's the Red Soldiers deck. This is actually played a little bit in the tournament. This could be problematic. Fast aggro in general is a bit of a weakness. I do like the airship, though. This is actually what I was talking about in the deck tech, where I get to go sort of for a library guards-esque card into airship. Side note, by the way, I am actually getting new curtains, which means I will be able to stream without being the Dark Lord of Spellweaver, which is the joke currently, because I stream when it's still light outside, which means that no one can see me. I am a silhouette on camera. But yeah, I always make videos when the sun's already gone down, so you can actually see me. Now, what do I prefer here? I actually prefer the Foundry plus Tornado. The reason for this is simply because I'm really scared of a Master Tactician. Like, a Master Tactician would spell doom. So I'd rather that didn't happen. He's thinking about it. There's also a potential Fire Blast or Fireball on the Foundry, which I'm actually completely fine with. I am very worried about this matchup, though, because, as I said earlier, you can get a bit steamrolled by the red aggro decks. Now, this is order-based, which means he should have less reach in the deck. But, I mean, he still has Fireball. I doubt he has anything like, yeah, I doubt he has anything like Dragonfire. So we just bounce that and then block something. That works out fine. Oh, he actually spent his mana. I'm not sure about that. Yeah, now he has to move back. Flash freeze. Or maybe draw. Now, I do have a couple of options here. I think I could set up Haldiri, basically clear his board, make a golem. I could also go hero power combination of some kind. This wouldn't be vulnerable to Fire Blast, so I think this is the play. Clear out a lot of his board, leave a golem on front, and because I have a second Foundry, I mean, he could play a CFC and buff this up to 3 speed and then take the kill on the Foundry, but then he's not hitting me in the face, which is appreciated. So I'll happily let him take that. I'm less concerned about a Master Tactician now, but it's still a problem. So I'm very curious to see what he does here. Yeah, there's been a lot of decks recently that have been coming out. There's been a couple stuff in soldier builds. There was a Dominion, Corruption, and Rage soldier build that I've all done like 4 and 2 in one of the qualifiers. It's just because of the Masters qualifiers recently, which has occurred to me I have not talked about Masters on a video yet. I've already talked about it on stream, but I think I'll cover the whole Masters thing when I do a patch review when that comes out in like a week and a half, which is when the next patch is out, which is 2 weeks before Masters. So yes, I'll talk about it extensively in that video. But anyway, now that appears to be a Pacify or a Guards. Do I need to take this game quickly? Not really. Yeah, I don't really see the point. Okay, it's Guards. It's a guards, but I have a massive amount of, like, blockers right now, so he can't really do much with this. Like, double Fire Blast, but no, he only has 5 mana, so he couldn't even do that. I am very concerned about the order tricks thing. That does cause problems. Touch of Light's the only thing he can use. Yeah, but if he Touch of Lights, he can't use... Like, if he Touch of Lights, he can't use Pacify anymore, right? Which means I kind of want to encourage him to. Well, I'll also just block in a way that gives me the kill if he wants to take the Library Guards. Curious. That attack was very, very strange. He can't leave these on front row now. Runelit being indestructible would be very handy right now. But I can't play everything down that I want to if I go for the indestructible Runelit, so instead I'm just going to put this on back row for now. Basically I'm trying to make Fire Blast useless. That's what that's about. So I don't want him to Fire Blast my Runelit. It's not like it'll give me lethal next turn anyway. Get rid of the airship. Miss Divine Offering because it's me. Yeah. I don't miss Divine too many times, but it happens. Six cards in hand is a lot. Like, I'm genuinely curious as to what he actually has access to. Double Flash Freeze. I think the problem is that he has so much mana open that he can just retreat the CFCs. So I think the correct move is actually just to build my board and have double Flash Freeze open. Because as soon as I draw a bounce spell, I can just take him out. Like, he's trying to build the critical mass board thing, but yeah, if I'd attacked into that, I would have probably lost a bunch of creatures. Like, I think I could have just double Flash Freeze the Monster Tactician and maybe got some extra kills, but it's very... Like, he probably would have played around a Tornado Outbreak or something, so I can't even do that. Oh, this may be the most brutal double. Oh, this is so brutal. Yeah, this attack will not work. Granted, he can use the CFCs to tie up blockers and then just go from there, but this attack will not work. Yeah, he can't attack that. It doesn't do anything. It basically just gives me the opportunity to eat a bunch of his creatures. Like, the problem he has right now is that there aren't actually any good attacks. Because both of us are playing decks that have excessive amounts of tricks. So, there aren't any good attacks. Which I think is what he's currently realizing. Yeah, this isn't a good attack. Flash Freeze number 1. And number 2. I think I play around I think I play around Fire Blast. So if you Fire Blast, it doesn't actually kill my Foundries. That's annoying. Oh well. Like, that combat wasn't too bad. Like, I think he loses 3 creatures. Well, he loses 4 creatures, I lose 1. But I'm down 2 cards. So it wasn't like a really bad attack. The problem is I have 2 Foundries on the board. Interesting. Is he going to retreat the CFC then? Oh no, he's just got another Fireball. So it was just a massive resource trade. Which I'm actually completely fine with, because he has 0 cards now. Well, he doesn't have 0, but he has a minimal amount. Okay, thanks, game. We're just going to clear out his board. I will kill a CFC when I have the opportunity, because the ability to retreat out of combat is really causing some problems. That and the hero powers are going to get ridiculous on that, so I have to get rid of it. So now we're basically both completely out of resources, but the difference is that I have 2 Foundries. So he needs to remove them, and he also just spent a whole bunch of removal. He says as one of his Foundries gets destroyed. Does he have another one? He's almost out of resources, but he isn't, which is a considerable issue. I can actually get a golem out of this. If he has Touch of Light, what do I do? Bounce my own guy. I was thinking, like, if he has Touch of Light, I have a little bit of a problem. Maybe I should have bounced his dude. That could cause some issues, actually. How many soldiers does he have access to? 1 more. That helps, but I'm not in the clear yet. Like, I'm completely out of resources. Mostly because I really haven't drawn library cards this game at all. Like, I've drawn 1, but I haven't got a lot of the good grindy cards. Like Landslide would be so good right now, but haven't got one yet. I wouldn't be shocked if he attacks with these 2 and then leaves the 4/4 back. Interesting. I'm not sure about attacking with just the 4/4. I think that seems almost pointless, actually. Yeah, that doesn't seem particularly useful. Okay, that's huge. Now I get the Landslide on these 2. Landslide the token. Just to get it out of the way. Now I get 5 damage in. That was absolutely huge. I just said, like, Landslide be really good here. Yeah, I drew 1. But yeah, this has been a very, very strange game, because it's like a long creature matchup, which is something you don't really normally see. Oh, Word of Fire. I was like, what could that be? But yeah, Word of Fire. Now, does he have a soldier in his yard now? He does not. And there goes my Foundry. That's a problem. Okay, we're both completely out of resources. This is just top deck base now. 5, 7. I mean, I'll take it. That should give me lethal. He needs some sort of, like, word of fire draw. This is what I meant with Haldiri. It just helps with racing. Like, the Haldiris I drew this game were just to add pressure. They're not really value creatures anymore. They're just good at adding pressure. Now, if you drew guards... If he drew guards, I'm actually in serious trouble. So what could he have? Pacify, guards, fireball. Only guards actually causes issues. So he's already played 3. And I'm not dead. So I'll actually just attack. If he has exactly guards, he lives. No, he didn't. Okay. Really long game. But yeah, and I actually think that I didn't draw particularly well that game. Yeah, the opening hand wasn't massively strong. Neither was sort of my late game top decks. So I think that was below average for the deck, and it still is very good in creature matchups. Like, that's soldiers with like red removal is also a very good creature matchup deck because it completely clears the board and it has all of the order tricks as well, along with the incredibly powerful hero power for grindy matchups, and it's still eventually lost. So I actually think that game does prove just how powerful kind of blue can be in these grindy games. But yeah, now as I said earlier, matchups, it's mostly just any game that will go longer than 7 turns, generally it wins. Corruption aggro can just steamroll it. It's very rare though. Generally it doesn't, because you have, well, I mean, like, one of the ways that they could push damage is through tombs, and you've got Unicorn, but you need to apply pressure to them to stop them from just draining you with Word of Pain. So you do need to finish the game quickly. The really bad matchup, in my opinion, is red, because Dragonfire just causes massive issues. I mean, they only need to really draw 2 Dragonfires and you're probably dead. So, yeah, it's sketchy. But outside of that, I think every other matchup is either favored or even, and that's pretty much all you can ask for. But yeah, I think the deck is very, very solid and worth playing. But anyway, thank you for watching. If you liked the content, please subscribe. If you have any feedback, want to ask me any questions, put it in the comment section below. But for now, it's been Jotto, signing off.